first time that I came up and gave a presentation. I've been 8 years in training, so let's see how it goes. I know that the seminar was built around converged networks or convergence. We see convergence as old. I mean, we've been doing voice, video and data across the same network for a while now. Yeah? What we're really looking at today is mobility. We're not talking just about people, but resources and applications. Everything's becoming mobile today. Yeah? So that's what we're looking in the convergence. Voice, video, data, you've been doing that for the last 10 years. Yeah. So, what challenges do you today as an IT director, a CIO, a CTO within a company, what challenges do you have? Well, today with the financial situation in most countries, we have got a limited budget. People are now looking at what they actually spend today than maybe previously than in the last 5 years. And also, when you look at IT departments, globally, in the enterprise arena, they're normally the most limited resources available. If there's going to be any cutbacks, if you're in a hospital, they cut back on the IT personnel, they don't cut back on the doctors or the nurses. If you're in an education environment, similar thing. They don't cut back on the faculty, the teachers or the professors, they cut back within the IT department. So you have those problems. And today, what are we seeing? I probably walk in here and how many people have got an iPhone with them today? And how many people need to be using them 24/7 now? Right? We're dependent on these things today. Yeah? So you want to be able to, wherever you go, be able to get to your resources. Right? So, but this is a problem for the IT department. These people bringing in all their own machines into the workplace. Yeah? So it's a huge problem there. You want to have your applications up constantly. You want 100% uptime. I know what it's like. Last night, I'm in the hotel room, and I couldn't get through to my SIBO application, to my CRM. So I couldn't do my job, I couldn't do my forecasting last night because the hotel had blocked me setting up a VPN. Yeah, so I wasn't able to do it until I got in here this morning. Not too sure about over here with regards to compliance in this region, but especially in the financial sector, it is fairly hot within compliance. So these are all the things that I think you'll be worrying about. So on a day-to-day basis, what's happening in your organisation? I would say most of your time is spent taking end-user calls. Right, so you're reacting to problems. Yeah, it's not a proactive approach. It's a reactive approach. You spend a lot of time troubleshooting end-user problems within your organisation. If you're in an environment where you get a lot of add, moves and changes in the educational environment, you got students starting every year, they need to get access to the network, you've got people moving around all the time. That all takes time. So we need to look at a way where we deal with these problems more dynamically within your environment. Where do most mistakes most of your problems come from? More than likely configuration errors. So when you're setting up a new service, a new user, the problem is normally done by human error, putting in the wrong configuration. Right, so what do we believe? Today we see the environment as being static. Yeah, what do we mean by that? We mean basically you're doing all the provisioning manually. And when you do it manually, there is going to be errors. So what do we see the way going forward? We see it being dynamic. Right, we see it as people connect, they connect to the network automatically. Whether it's by their user identity, whether it's by their location. Yeah? That cuts down on the number of errors through this manual configuration. So we're looking at an automated configuration. So we're moving from reactive management to proactive management on it. So how do we envisage that? We see three main cogs in the wheel for this smarter network. We see resilient connectivity, so auto-healing within your network. We see plug and play, right? So auto configuration, stop you having to manually do it. And secured connectivity, so you get auto provisioning of services. What holds all that together? And it's very, very unique within the enterprise environment, is our operating system, which we run on our switches together with the management solution. Any questions so far? Now, in fact, make up some time, because we've spent a long time up here. I think we need a coffee break. Right, so plug and play. Basically, what do we want to do? We want to simplify the management of the users. And we've got 4 bullet points. We'll look at a couple of those in a little bit more detail. But we're looking at something we call universal port. What's universal port? Well, it's the ability to be able to recognize a device when it's plugged into the network to see it, then automatically provision the services for that device. Now, without any operator intervention. We have widgets. It's probably not a word that people understand what a widget is. Yeah? I don't know where our American cousins came up with using this word. Yeah? But basically, we have scripts available to our customers, to our partners, to our integration partners. We create them ourselves, and they're available in a library on the web at no cost. Yeah? So we have these scripts available at no cost to you whatsoever that you can deploy into your network. You're looking at zero-touch configuration. Basically, you've got a configuration of a switch held on a server. The switch is deployed out into your network, and automatically the configuration is downloaded to that switch. Again, automatic intervention instead of manual configuration. Unlike some other vendors, we have open interfaces to our switches. So we have XML interfaces, and we provide a software developer's kit. Again, free of charge, where our customers and partners can have it available to create their own interfaces with the network with third-party products. Right, quick example of universal port. There's a very simplified one. Basically a telephone which supports LLDP. Basically, the first step you do is you create a policy for that type of telephone. So you create a policy, say what type of policy of service, what VLANs to go in, whatever. That is stored within the management system. When that phone is physically plugged into the network, the switch recognizes that device and automatically creates the service on that without any operator intervention. So once you've got the initial policy correct, then there's no more mistakes can be made.
So what type of discovery protocol is being used?
LLDP.
LLDP.
Yeah, so not proprietary, yeah, unlike some of our friends. It's an open protocol. If you think of Extreme, we just manufacture switches. We have to interoperate with everyone, and so we've got to be open. we were talking about these widgets. There's different ones available, either for deployment, for monitoring, for operations, and for optimizing your network. And they're available to you at no cost. Yeah? So they're just kept in the library and you can download them. Now we look at resiliency, and we have a few key differentiators with Extreme here. We say hardware availability. Everyone's got hardware availability when you're looking at your modular switches. Everyone has redundant switching fabrics, passive backplates, redundant power supplies, redundant cooling. Yeah? But we're looking a little bit more detail of the Summit stack. It's unique in the industry, and we'll have a slide on that in a moment. Software availability. When we think of availability, everyone thinks of hardware. Everyone thinks of network availability. People forget about software. So if you haven't got a hardened operating system, then there's a crucial part of that availability message gone. Alright, so the operating system we have is a modular operating system. What do I mean by that? It means basically I can restart processes individually. Yeah, so if something happens with, for example, the OSPF process, I don't have to reboot the complete switch. I can reboot that OSPF module. Yeah, so anyone else who's not using the OSPF isn't affected. So I don't have to reboot the switch. This is in all our switches, from the value-added layer 2 switches all the way to our large core switches. The one operating system running across the complete range. We don't have 3 different operating systems. We don't have one for the edge, one for the core, and one for the data center. We don't have 200 different images within that operating system, and depending on what features you want to run, depends on what image goes on your switch. Yeah? It's one operating system across the complete portfolio. Link resiliency. We have a protocol called EAPS, which is basically Ethernet Automatic Protection Switching. This was developed for the service provider network. Basically, it introduced SDH functionality into the Ethernet world. So in Metro Ethernet networks, we gave the service provider the ability to be able to switch traffic in sub 50 milliseconds. Yeah? One of my old customers sitting at the back there, one of the reasons their company bought Extreme was for that particular protocol. So what does this 50 milliseconds mean? Well, basically, if we go back to the old telephony world, it gave me the ability to switch the traffic on a failure without a voice call falling out. Yeah, so the telephony call wouldn't fall out, wouldn't drop out. It's fairly unique in the industry. There's some other vendors who have a similar type resilient protocol, but again, it's available on some switches and not in other. Normally, it's available on the higher end Metro type products, not on their enterprise products. Yeah? This is available on, as we said, from the layer 2 24 port switch all the way to our modular chassis. And application availability. Today with virtualization, you can let me know, but normally you have a network team, normally you have a server team. The network team doesn't know what the server team's doing, the server team doesn't know what the network people are doing. Yeah? And you have that clash all the time. It's always the other one's fault. Yeah? So we'll be looking at making a application available to you which eases the pain in the virtualization